Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. But instead, I want to start with the game that I know had all of America's attention on Saturday afternoon, as the Oregon Ducks hosted the Colorado Buffaloes in a top 20 matchup of undefeated teams. And why this game, I feel like, is the biggest story coming out of the weekend, it really goes back to Thursday's preview show and everything we talked about on Thursday. I said, regardless of the outcome, one of two, the takes were going to be flowing regardless of outcome, okay? If Oregon won, and Oregon won in the manner in which everybody expected them to, which obviously they were a 21-point favorite in Vegas, then you know what the conversation is going to be. Colorado's overrated. You guys in the media hyped them up too much, on and on and on. And of course, if Colorado won, then all the hype, all the excitement would go into even further overdrive, if that's even possible, going into next week's game against Caleb Williams in USC. Well, by now, if you're listening to this, you know the result, and it was very much the former, not the latter, as Oregon at home at Autzen Stadium absolutely obliterates Colorado. Final score 42-6, with that 6 points for Colorado coming late in the game when it was long over. And listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it because I know Coach Prime is not sugarcoating it in his locker room with his team. Oregon was the better team in every single way that you could be on Saturday. Oregon finished with 522 yards of total offense, Colorado 199 yards. The score, by the way, Oregon jumped out to like a 13-0 lead before you could even blink. Colorado gets a half a second of momentum. Then Dan Lanning calls for the fake punt inside his own 20. Oregon converts it, and basically from there, the game was over. It was 35-0 at halftime. Oregon had more points than Colorado had total yards at the half. Oregon had more touchdowns than Colorado had first downs in the first half. And from there, it never really got better. Again, Oregon winning 42-6. The bottom line, though, to me is, listen, everybody wants to have these like big, bold, unbelievable takes. This ultimately isn't that surprising to me for all of the same reasons that I said on Thursday's preview show. Now, look, I didn't pick this game. I said, I think Oregon wins. I'm not going to bet it. I don't have a strong opinion because I think Colorado can maybe score enough points to keep it respectable. But at the end of the day, this goes back to what we have talked about on this show for a few weeks. What Coach Prime has done to get Colorado to 3-0 is absolutely incredible, because outside the quarterback position, and there are other star players like Travis Hunter, but for the most part, this has not been a great team, and they have been propped up by incredible quarterback play from Deion Sanders. Listen, coming into this game for Colorado, these stats are mind-boggling, and I want to make sure that I get them right. Coming into this game, so before Saturday, this was just TCU, just Nebraska, just Colorado State. No Oregon, no USC, none of the tough teams they're going to play going forward. Just coming into this game, Colorado ranked, are you ready for this? Colorado ranked 120, remember, there are 133 FBS teams. They ranked 125th in total defense. In other words, there was only 8 teams through 3 games that were worse than them. They ranked 129th in rushing, 129th out of 133 teams. And this is the stat that I think is most important. 130th out of 133 teams in sacks allowed. And so just listen to those stats again. 125th in total defense, 129th in rushing, 130th in sacks allowed. It means the defense hasn't been very good. It means the run game hasn't been very good. It means the run blocking has not been good. It means the pass blocking has not been good. And as I keep saying, Deion Sanders, because he is special, because he is a first-round talent, because he's maybe even a potential top 10 talent, is the reason that Colorado is 3-0. By the way, it's worth noting, if Jay Norvell goes for it on 4th down last week instead of chickening out and punting, maybe Colorado State wins that game. Instead, Deion Sanders gets the ball, drives it 98 yards. By the way, 2 weeks ago against Nebraska, if Jeff Sims doesn't stop fumbling the ball, that was a competitive game until Nebraska could not get out of their own way. So this isn't a knock on Colorado. This is a reality check for them. And it speaks to something that I've said. I think the fact, listen, everybody wants to criticize Coach Prime. I have no problem with him because I think he's done a good job coaching. Now, there's a lot of noise outside of the program. Jay Norvell saying stuff, Dan Lanning's locker room comments, which we'll get to at some point here in the future. But inside that, Coach Prime isn't the one talking smack. People are coming at him. And I think he's done a pretty good job to get this team to 3-0, to get this team to 3 wins before Saturday. I think they largely overachieved. Remember, this was a team that had a 3.5 over-under win total coming into the year. They were 3-0 coming into Saturday. They're going to get to 4 wins. Probably next week's going to be tough. Then they play Arizona State and Stanford, the 2 worst teams in the Pac-12. I think they're going to be 5-2 coming out of that stretch. And at that point, if they are, they will have greatly exceeded expectations. And it speaks to what I've said. I think Coach Prime has done a good job with this team. I think he's done a good job with this program. 75 plus new players, 1 million guys from 1 million different places. To get them to 3-0 is a great start to a season where most people had no expectations for them. To me, I don't like, this is part of why I've never understood the angst about him and the frustration about him, is because when I look at this thing, I think he's overachieved. And I think at the end of the day, all of the realistic goals for this team are still on track. Get to 6 wins, get to a bowl game, get those extra practices, and then go crush it in recruiting, which I expect Coach Prime and his staff to do in the high school ranks and the portal. And so I don't see this as a negative. Everyone wants to, well, this proves this and this proves that. This proves that Colorado probably wasn't a very good team coming into this weekend, and Shedeur Sanders is special, and this is a team with a lot of room to grow. And so when I look at this game, I don't see it as a negative, right? Because at the end of the day, the goal was never a national championship. The goal was never going 12-0. I mean, that can be the goal. I don't think it was realistic even for the people inside that building. And so for me, there are positives that come out of Saturday. One, I think Coach Prime in that building gets to recalibrate things with that group. Because again, if you listen to him throughout the week, he said a lot of stuff that made me realize that even he knows his team isn't as good as the hype. He kept saying all week, we haven't played a full game offense, defense, special teams. He kept saying, if you watch those videos that are done by his son, Deion Sanders Jr., he kept saying, you guys are buying your own hype. You guys need to start holding yourselves accountable. I'm telling you, you're not good enough. So one, I think the positive is you get to recalibrate. Colorado was never competing for a college football playoff spot. Recalibrate, get better, and learn from this so this never happens again. By the way, all great teams, all great programs go through this. I'm not comparing Colorado to the greatest dynasty we've maybe ever seen in college football, but remember, in year 1, Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe. Remember, in year 1, Kirby Smart went 7-5 and lost to Vanderbilt. I think he went 8-5 with a bowl game. But these things take time. These things are a process. This thing is ahead of schedule. And I think the second positive, and there are positives, the second positive is if Coach Prime uses this right, and I know he will, they should crush in recruiting. Because the biggest takeaway that I had from this game, Colorado is elite at quarterback, and they're really good at the skill positions. And I know there's no Travis Hunter. I know you can't gauge, but they're not winning this game even if Travis Hunter is on the field. But you know what that message, you know what coaches will do with what happened on Saturday? They're going to take that into recruiting. I have no doubt that Coach Prime and his staff on the bus ride back to the airport, they're going to be texting recruits, every 5-star defensive lineman, every 5-star linebacker, every 5-star offensive lineman, and say, did you see that? We need your help. Come here. You can go to Georgia and be a backup for 2 years, or you can come here and be a difference maker day one. You can go to Alabama for 2 years or be a difference maker here day one. That was already the message they were giving to recruits. Remember, Jordan Seaton, some believe he's one of the best, some believe he's the best offensive lineman in high school football right now. He visited last week for that Colorado State game. That was the message from Coach Prime when Jordan Seaton did interviews after the trip. He said there's starting time to be had next year. And so go out, go hit the portal hard, go hit the high school ranks, because there is going to be plenty of playing time to be had for Colorado players going forward, because they don't have Power 5 difference makers on the defensive front, on the offensive line for sure. That's the facts. That's always been the facts. Again, the numbers speak for themselves. Shador has been amazing. The wide receivers have been amazing. Travis Hunter, when he's not getting cheap shotted, was amazing and is amazing. But go back and look at those stats that I told you. Go back and look at what I said a minute ago. Came into this weekend 125th in total defense, 129th in rushing offense, 130th in sacks allowed. And so it's going to take time. This isn't built overnight, but in the portal era and with Coach Prime as your head coach, take advantage of this. Take advantage of it in recruiting. Go to kids' homes. Sell that you don't need to go to Georgia or Alabama to be a backup. Come here. Come with us. We coming. That's what Colorado is going to do. And again, I think there are positives to be taken if you're a Colorado fan.